came to it and thought, what can we do? If India has to move forward, sports in India has to move forward. Contribution from sports has to increase in multiple fields. And we looked at what is that, what we can do. And hence we came back with a vision of this. How can we explore innovative pathways to advance sports ecosystem in India? Basically to get into deeper understanding and different pillars, how different pillars can impact sports. If you look at India, the infra piece is taken by Government of India and big companies, Tata's, Reliance and JSWs. But there is one piece which we felt which is essential to move sports forward, which is a softer piece, which is a dialogue, which is a governance piece, and acting as a mirror saying that what is required in these 4 pillars for India to move forward. And hence this report, we go in detail, this report talks about that in particular, saying what is required for India to move forward. And with that vision, we came up with the first RCB Innovation Lab Summit in the month of November last year, where we had different experts from different fields within India and outside India coming and contributing to this agenda, saying what it requires to be done in India to move sports forward. Briefly, just touch upon, Divya spoke about from an AB saying that what sports can do to India. If you look at India, there is one big piece which is elite sports, and that is critical to move India, and we will do multiple things in that to our initiative and different companies' initiative. Apart from that, what can sports do? Physical well-being, and we all know how sports can impact physical well-being of individuals. If you look at India, the population is young, and by 2036, 2037, this population will start aging. But then how can this population by now can contribute to this journey of development in India? So one is that, how can this population be physically active and what is required to be done? And we all know how sports can impact mental well-being too. Every sports person, every individual who is active is mentally fit too. Third one is individual development. Individual development is all about positive impact on person's employment opportunity, the behavioral changes. There are clear evidences to prove saying that how sports can impact the leadership style, cognitive benefit, and how sports in general can push that individual forward, soft skills and stuff like that. The third importance is the society and community development. We all know India is amalgamation of different communities, and there are different inequalities everywhere. But if you bring sports, everybody under the umbrella of sports, there is equality there in everything what we do. And you can see from a WPL and IPL point of view, how WPL has inspired millions of women in India to participate in sports. The viewership has grown up, the commerce has grown up. So sports can bring multiple divides and collapse the divides and bring everybody together. And last one is the economic development, which I have articulated. There is multiple benefit of sports becoming big in India. The not just infra piece, the development piece, the skill piece, the allied industry piece, it can easily contribute substantial amount to the GDP of India.
And the advocacy for a much more considered approach to building a sports ecosystem. There are many different aspects to an ecosystem: the sports industry, sports development, the role of governments, it could be the union government or state governments, the role of federations. And our provocation really here was, how do we bring this all together? So when you play as a team, I think there are many more aspects that one can achieve. And here this 10-step roadmap is a considered view. The team at RCB, we partnered with them on the summit. The summit held in November 2023 was a very interesting starting point to many of the discussions, some of which you saw in the video. There's another summit coming up in a few weeks where we continue the conversation. But the provocation given to us by RCB was, how do we get moving and move these discussions into the mainstream of discussion? Because in many ways, sport is on the margins of lots of our different activities. It's part of entertainment, it's things that we do on the side of our core lives like education and work. But somehow it never makes it into the mainstream of our daily lives. And the Sports Forward Nation report is a provocation, like I said, to start thinking about sport as central to our lives, in our everyday, weaving it into what we consider ourselves as a nation, and to take forward what a nation can be using the tremendous power of sport and all of its dimensions. It could be economic dimensions, social dimensions, cultural dimensions, and I think we have a long way to go on many of these aspects, but in that long way to go is lots of opportunity. And when we say sports forward nation, we want to move forward, and there is a roadmap which in some sense is a 10-step thought process of all of the various things each of us can do, because when you put out a roadmap, it's directional, you want to go in a particular direction, but I think all of us like to know what we can do. If I'm just an individual running a school, what is my role? If I'm in a government position in a state level, what is my role? And I think there is enough for each of us to do, and I like the term Rajesh used, stop being spectators. We are excellent spectators of Indian sport, probably the best spectator base in the world, and start being participants. Participants could be simple ways of just increasing your own physical activity, playing a little bit more, or it could be actively using all of the powers that are in your hands to advocate for sport and move sport forward. So when we talked about a 10-step roadmap, none of it is going to be revolutionary when you look at it individually. You would have heard of a lot of these things over your time thinking about sport, working in sport, but it's actually when all of it comes together that the power really is demonstrated. And we talk about policy, we talk about regulatory landscapes where the government moves a little bit away from a very strong implementation mode but moves to a much more enabling mode. We understand there are going to be some road bumps along the way, so how do we actually move forward effectively using technology as we get our talent pathways moving? I like to see talent pathways as a little bit of a ladder, and our responsibility as a system is to make sure there are different rungs of the ladder, where if there's talent, the progression of that talent almost becomes inevitable. But also looking at various new stakeholders, schools, colleges, or even just the way we plan our cities, the way we plan our workplaces, building active frameworks where we bring more people into the realm of living healthier lives, but also nutritionally rich lives, which actually becomes the raw material for building a much stronger, healthier nation.
It was more to just do with my brother playing, and my father also had played. So to see, I wouldn't even talk about women's cricket. I think to just see women's sport evolve. Growing up, I think when I turned 10 and 11, I think the first time we heard of Sania Mirza becoming an icon, and we all knew that, oh wow, there's a girl in sport, and that really inspired us. Then few years down the line, we started hearing about Saina Nehwal, PV Sindhu, and it was also encouraging. And for women's cricket, I think in India, I think it's just been a journey from the time we started playing, in terms even for the Indian team, to having stadiums which were mostly empty to now filling out stadiums wherever we play as an Indian team or with RCB. I think it's just a good, brilliant thing to watch. And I think more importantly, as cricketers or as sports people, sometimes people misconceptualize thinking that we want equal stuff, or I just feel that what we definitely want is equal amount of respect. And I just feel in last 5 years, I think women in sport have definitely been in a place where people know, people appreciate us, criticize us, which is great. I think people are caring about women's sport, they are watching it. So, and I think it's a journey, and I just feel like more and more investments of this sort and right stakeholders taking right decisions for women's cricket and women's sport, it's only going to lead the way forward. I mean, the cricketing field, and I thought to myself, and I said, the ultimate dream would be just passing by the road and watching two women's team play a gully cricket match. I think that would be my ultimate dream, because we see that so much. I mean, guys play and all of that. Nowadays you see a lot more women participation in gully cricket as well. We see 2 or 3 girls playing with 10 or 15 boys, but I think the ultimate dream down the line would be just passing by in my car or anywhere, and I'm just watching two women team like playing gully cricket, no professional sport, nothing. They're just enjoying the sport. I think that would be really cool. And as you said, I think the amount of girls or college-going girls or school-going girls have come up to us in the last 2 or 3 years asking for a photo, or genuinely guys used to come a lot more before. In the last 2 years since the WPL has started, it's all turned that a lot of girls and people who I don't see them that they would be following a lot of sport, they come up to all of us and say that we've looked up to you. And for us actually, that feels like one of the wins of our life, that we've actually inspired girls to watch sport or play sport. I think that's something, that's two ultimate dreams you would want to do.
The sprint capital, but we are moving in the right direction, and the partnerships now coming together, especially in the Made of Gold initiative, it really helps accelerate this process to work closely with community, not just in achieving the results, outcome of performance, but how do we create that social impact where there is a value for developing high performance communities.
We've been talking about CSR and corporate India and how has Indian sport really moved and how the needle has changed. I think what's really interesting in the last 3 or even 4 Olympic cycles, you've seen a lot of funding that's come into an individual athlete. And most of the funding comes to 30, 40, 50 athletes, and corporate India has played a big role in that. But what we're now seeing is, over there is a lot of funding coming in, but your talent pool, if you're talking about 2036 Olympics, is going to come from academies, communities, and the rest of India, not from the 30, 40 athletes we're putting all our money into. So therefore, pathways are very critical, and a program like Made of Gold and RCB coming in and looking at communities, I think that is very special, because most of the time corporates also want to look at the top of the pyramid, right, where you get immediate success, somebody who's already been there, done that. I think more of corporate India coming into communities, coming into states, we'll see the funnel growing.